Good morning, students. In last class, we have started RPC, remote procedure call. In that, we have seen implementation of RPC mechanism. In the implementation of RPC mechanism, we have seen how the client machine and server machine involves in RPC, and how the client call will be converted to pack, and how the client call will be packed by using client stub, and it will be forwarded to the server machine by using client RPC routine, and it is marshaled, and the call packet will goes to the server machine, and the server local RPC runtime will receive the call packet, and the server stub will unpack that call packet, and the call will be executed by the server, and executed output will be returned to the client. From here it will return to the server stub at receivers at servers at server stub. The result will be packed, and the packed result will be sent by using RPC runtime at the server, and it will be marshaled along the network, and it will received by the RPC runtime, client RPC runtime, and it will be unpacked by client stub, and finally the result will return to the client. This is how the RPC is executed from client machine to server machine. Okay, this diagram resembles the implementation of RPC mechanism. Now moving down to the next point. We have seen the client stub and importance of RPC runtime. This is at both sides, at client and server side, client RPC runtime and server RPC runtime, server stub. After that, we have seen how the marshalling of arguments and results. The arguments is passed from client machine to server machine. These will be marshaled, and the result will be passed from server machine to client machine. The both results and arguments both are marshaled along the network. Okay. Now, today we are going to discuss about the working procedure of RPC. Okay, the working procedure of RPC. These topics we have already discussed in RPC model. Just will suffer your reference. I am repeating again. Coming to the working procedure of RPC. First point. See the first point. To summarize a RPC call, RPC occurs in the following steps. The first step is the client procedure calls the client stub in the normal way. From where the call will be started? From client to client stub. Next, second point. The client stub builds a message and calls the local operating system. In the second step, at client stub, the client stub builds a message and calls the local operating system. In the third step, the client as sends the message to the remote as. See, normally, even though we are using the remote, the message will be same as the client and same as the remote. Now, remote as gives the message to the server stub. Now, the meaning of the point 3 and point 4 is whatever the message that client sending is, that will as it easily received to the receiver, even though they are using remote. The message finally reach to the server stub, client to client stub, client stub to RPC runtime, RPC local runtime at client machine, from RPC runtime local RPC runtime to server runtime to server stub. Now the server stub unpacks the parameters. All the parameters and arguments are packed right at client side. The client stub will perform the packing of arguments and parameters. Now at the receiver end, see the fifth point, the server stub unpacks the parameter and calls the server. The server stub unpacks the parameters and the last step is it will calls the server. In the sixth step, the server does work and returns the result to the stub. Now server will execute the procedure and the results will return to the stub. Which stub? Server side server stub. Now the server stub, while giving result back to the client, it will packs in a message and calls its local as. Local, see the seventh and eighth point here, the relation between third and fourth point, and similarly same 7 and 8. The server stub packs it. What will be packed? The server stub will pack the result in a message and calls its local as. That means after packing the result, it will calls the local RPC runtime. Now the server as it easily sends a message to the client. That means after packing the result, the server will as it easily sends the message to the client. Now in the ninth point, the client as gives message to the client stub. After receiving the result information from the server, the client will give the received information to client stub. Now the client stub performs unpacking. Client stub performs unpacking the result and returns to the client. This is the total procedure. This is the total procedure of this particular diagram. Implementation of RPC mechanism. Whatever I told, these 10 points, this working procedure. This is called as working procedure or the implementation of RPC mechanism between the client machine and server machine. Just you simply remember the point: client stub, RPC runtime. Client stub will packs and unpacks. Server stub will packs and unpacks. Okay. What is the responsibility of RPC runtime? At client RPC runtime, it will send and receive the messages. Similarly, at the receiver end also. Okay, now the note point here is here after sending the packet, after sending the call packet, the client machine waits or blocks until it receives the result from the server machine. This is the point to be noted. Okay. So many times I told you, either of one machine's client or server will be executed. Okay. This is all we have discussed. Now we have discussed these 10 points. That is working procedure of RPC. Now, next topic is call by value. These two call by value and call by reference we know. By passing the arguments to the procedure, by passing the parameters, we will use these and see how a call by value works here. In the call by value method, all parameters are copied into a message that is transmitted from client to server through the network. See, all parameters are copied into a message. Okay, all parameters are copied into a message that will leads to some problems in some cases. See the second point, it is time consuming process for passing large data types. Why? Because all parameters are copied into a message and that message needs to be packed and forwarded to the server machine. So this is problem in case of large data types like trees and arrays, etc. Okay, this is about the call by value. This is all you well known about these two. Now the call by reference. These two methods, call by value and call by methods, are the methods which are used to pass the parameters. Okay. See, the call by reference, most of RPC mechanisms does not use the call by reference semantics for parameter passing. Why? Because the client and server existing in different address space. The client and server will exist in different address space. And the distributed systems having distributed shared memory mechanisms can allow passing of parameters by reference. Okay, this is about call by value and call by reference. Okay, now these three are special types of remote procedure calls, special types of RPC. First one, callback RPC, broadcast RPC, batch mode RPC. First we will see callback RPC. It facilitates a peer-to-peer paradigm among participating pair process. See how it allows a process to be both a client and server. It allows both. Client will, what I told you previously, client will, in the previous example, implementation of RPC, what we have seen, the client call will be executed by the server, and the result, after executing, the result will be forwarded to the client. Okay, but in the callback RPC, it allows a process to be both a client and a server. Sometimes the server gives callback to the client. Now, remotely processed interactive application. This callback RPC is remotely processed interactive applications. See here, the issues with this callback RPC are: first one, providing server with clients handle. Providing server with clients handle. Sometimes the server issues will be handled by the clients also. This is the first issue. Making the client process wait for the callback RPC. Here, the client process must wait for the callback RPC. We will see the next slide how it will be problem. Last one is deadlock problem. Handling the deadlock problem. This is the callback RPC process. First, see, we are having here client and server. First, the client will send a call. Client will send a call. That call will be executed by the server. In that call only, it will send the parameter list. See, here you need to identify the difference. Here the client process is executing till this point, till the server receives the call. The server is not executing. The server is blocked. After receiving the call, now server start the procedure execution. Okay, whenever server starts procedure execution, the client will stops. Okay, after executing, what it will give? Stop procedure execution temporarily. Sometimes the server may ask some callback. Server may ask some callback, which is containing the parameter list. Now, process the callback request. After receiving the callback from the server, it will process the callback request and send the reply. See, after reply, what is this reply? This is the reply of callback. This is nothing but result of callback. After receiving the callback, the server resumes the procedure execution. Previously, the server stopped the procedure execution because it is having some callback to the client. Now, procedure execution ends. After resuming the procedure execution, the server completes the procedure execution. Then it will be reply. Here we are having two replies. One reply is, this is one reply which is in callback from the server. The second information from the server is result of all, result of all, so result of call, nothing but the result of complete procedure, the result of entire procedure. This is called as callback RPC. Now, the second one is broadcast RPC. Here, all we know about broadcast, the client request is broadcast on the network. The client request is broadcast on the network and it is processed by all servers that have the procedure for processing the request. See, once the client request is broadcasted in the network, it will be processed by all servers that have the procedure. Whatever the procedure the client requested for, if any server of all server which are having that procedure for processing, okay, that will be executed. See, second point, the methods for broadcasting the client request, methods for broadcasting a client's request. See, we are using use of a broadcast primitive to indicate that the client's request message has to be broadcasted. We need to use the broadcast primitive that which indicates the client request message has to be broadcasted. Next, declare broadcast ports. That means for which port. Port is nothing but the address. Port is nothing but in transport layer, the address is port number. In network layer, the address is IP address, like that. We need to declare the broadcast port. For which port we need to send the request. Now, next step, back-off algorithm can be used to increase the time between retransmission. See, we need to use one back-off algorithm that can be used to increase the time between retransmissions. Time between retransmission. We need to increase the time between retransmission. Why? Because if any problem occurs in first case, we will do retransmission. For retransmission to next retransmission, we need to have some time. Why? Because due to network delays, the frames got delayed in the network. If we do retransmission immediately, it leads to be a duplication of frames at the server side. Okay. For that reason, we need to increase the back-off time. The last one is batch mode RPC. First one is callback RPC. Second one is broadcast RPC. Third one is batch mode RPC. See, this mode of RPC is used to queue separate RPC requests in a transmission buffer on the client side and send them to server over the network in one batch. See, here in this type of RPC, sender or client will maintain a transmission buffer. Okay, and then send over network in form of a batch. Batch wise, it will be sent. It reduces advantages. It reduces the overhead involved sending request and waiting for response for each request. Previously, what we have done, what we did in the previous first client sends a call. After that, if any callback is there, server will stop its execution and it will call back to the client. Now the client needs to give the result to the callback. After that, the server will execute and completely it will give the result. So here in this case, this overhead will be removed. Why? Because there is no need to wait for one call request and waiting for result. That is not at all required in this case. Okay. It efficient for applications. It is efficient for applications requiring lower call rates and client does not need a reply. Okay, it is efficient for the applications requiring lower call rates and client does not need a reply. See, just simply client is sending. In those cases, client does not require any reply. In those cases, these batch mode RPC will be used. And it requires reliable transmission protocol. It requires reliable transmission protocol. Why? Because it is not expecting any replies. So nothing, it is not expecting any acknowledgements. That means we should use the reliable transmission protocol. We should use the reliable transmission protocol. Okay. Now we are having two types of RPC. One is synchronous RPC and second one is asynchronous RPC. See, in synchronous RPC, client will call the remote procedure and the request will goes to the server. The above one is the client and the below one is the server. See, this dotted line indicates till it get request from the client, the server is ideal. That means server is blocked. Once it get the request, it will call the local procedure and return the results. Now the reply will be returned to the client. Okay, this is called as synchronous RPC. In case of asynchronous RPC, see, client call will be sent to the server remotely. After receiving the request, first the server is accepting the request and return the call. And here the client needs to wait for acceptance. But this here only one difference here. Previously there is no waiting for acceptance. Here this particular time interval is called as waiting for acceptance. See here, accept request. This is the accept request and this is the return from call. Return, what should be written from call? Previously the return from call is either it is a result or either it is a callback. Now if any interruption occurs at the client, when it will be interrupted? Whenever the server process giving the results, it will be interrupted and the client process will send an acknowledgement to the server machine. Okay, all client with one-way RPC. Okay, this is called as asynchronous RPC. Only here one point, after giving call remote procedure to the server, the client will wait for the acceptance. Why? Because sometimes some clients are not having access on some objects. For that, the client machine needs to be waited for the acceptance. Once the acceptance request is approved and it starts its execution. See here, in asynchronous, both client and server executing simultaneously. See here, this dotted line, this thick line indicates execution. This thick line indicates execution. Here the server process is executing the client call and client also executing. When it will be interrupted, the client will be interrupted whenever it will get a final result from the server. Once the final result will be received by the client machine, it needs to send an acknowledgement. For this reason, it will be interrupted. Okay, this is called as asynchronous RPC. Okay, this is all about remote procedure call. Very, very important with respect to examination point of view also. Okay, here we are having two types of RPC. One is synchronous and asynchronous, and three models. Three types that is in RPCs. One is batch mode, one is callback RPC, broadcast RPC, and batch mode RPC. Okay, this is all about RPCs. Okay, Our next topic is wait for 5 seconds. Okay. Our last topic in this unit is events and notifications. Events and notifications. See, in the events and notifications, first we need to know what is an event and what is a notification. Here, see the first point in the distributed event-based systems. Okay, this topic we are calling as distributed event-based system. Here, what is the meaning of RPC, remote procedure call? In remote procedure call, client is executing the procedure. Executing the procedure means it is accessing the object. It is the accessing object which is not in the same process or not in the same machine. Okay. Here, allowing multiple objects at different locations to be notified of events taking place at an object. What is the meaning of event taking place? Here, allowing multiple objects at different locations to be notified as events taking place at an object. Here we are having two characteristics for these events and notifications. One is heterogeneous and second one is asynchronous. Okay. See the example here. This example is stock dealing room. Here, what the stock dealing room? It allowed dealers using computers to see the latest stock prices. Okay. What stock dealing? In the stock dealing room, we are having the stock, we are having some computers, we are having some notifications. In this example, it will allow the dealers using computers to see the stock prices, latest stock prices. Why? Because it will be updated it will be updated continuously. Sometimes it will be decreased, increased like that. Second point, the information provided process. See, the information should be continuously updated. For that, it continuously receives the new trading information from external source and applies to the stock object. Why? Because here the stock information will be continuously updated. That will comes from the external source and it needs to be applied to the object. Here, such update is regarded as an event. Every update, suppose one update comes from one object, that will be treated as an event. For every update is an event. Here, the stock object notifies all the dealers who are subscribed. For the subscribers who are subscribed to the particular stock, suppose some Satyam computers or some TCS share, all the shareholders or all the stockholders will get the notifications. Here we are discussing about stock, right? Here all the stock all the customers will get the notifications. See here, the stock object notifies all the dealers I am telling the example of stock market information. This is the stock object. This is same. Some in the second example, we will notify stock market and customers. Here, the stock object notifies to the dealers who are subscribed. Now, coming to the dealer process, the dealer will create local object to represent the stock to display. Okay, all this is general information. The main concept is here one point is dealer, second point is stock. Okay, here at the dealer, regarding the stock information, all dealers should know about the stock information. Okay, why? Because they need to know after every event. Every event means for the stock, if new stock came or old stock, after going the old stock, whatever the process, it is taken as an event. For every event, the dealers will get the notification. For every event, the dealers will get the notification. Okay, I will give you one task. This is the process, and see, this is events and notifications. I hope you understand what is an event. If any update happens, any update in the stock, that is called as event. What is notification? After updating, that notification is sent to the concerned persons. That is called as notification. Here we are having the middle one is the external source, and the left side one and right side one is the dealer's computer. See, in the external source, suppose this is a stock room. Let's take this is a stock room. In the stock room, we are having the information provider. Information provider. What the information provider will do? Information provider will do sending the notifications to the dealer's computer. Whenever the, let us assume this is a stock room. This is called as an external source. Whenever the stock will be updated, that information will be sent through notification to the dealer's computer. Dealer's computer. Okay. This is this is the example of dealing room system. Dealing room system. See here, who will send the information? Information provider. See, the information provider all the time. See, the notification has been sent to the dealer's computer. Who is dealer computer here? Who is subscribed to that particular stock? Who is subscribed to that particular stock is said to be dealer's computer. Okay, this is the example of events and notification. See, this is an example of distributed architecture of distributed event notification. Here we are having, this is an event service. This is an event service. In that event service, what we are having? We are having some objects. Okay. In objects, suppose you are subscribed to one object. If you are not subscribed to particular object, even though if any modifications or updates happen in that particular one, you don't receive notifications. Whatever the notifications, whatever you are subscribed for, whatever you have subscribed for, only you will get the notifications. Here the notifications is different. It directly comes to the subscriber. In the first one, see, this is the object of interest to the subscriber. That means the subscriber is subscribed to this particular object. Whatever the update, whatever the event happened in this one, the notification has sent to the subscriber directly. Here, in between the subscriber and object, we are having an observer. The notifications from object will send to observer, and from observer to we will get the subscriber will get the notifications. In the third one, see here, out of, see, these are not in the events list. Some other, this is about some other objects, external objects. This external object is related with observer. For this, even though this information here, see, the subscriber is not subscribed to this object, still the observer is sending the notification to subscriber. Okay, this is about events and notification. This diagram represents the architecture of distributed event notification. Okay, next, last topic, you are having one case study. I will send you to, I'm having 2-3 case studies in Java remote method invocation. Just go through it and I will share you. Okay, this is all about your unit number 3. Thank you, students. Wait for a while. I will take, I'm noting down the attendance.